The Fed15 podcast is presented by Serving Those Who Serve, a financial planning practice serving federal government employees and retirees all over the country. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be taken as financial advice. All listeners should consult their personal advisors before taking any action. The opinions expressed by our hosts are their own and do not reflect the views, policies, or position of either Raymond James or Serving Those Who Serve. Securities are offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services are offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. Serving Those Who Serve is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services, Inc. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Fed15 podcast presented by your team here at Serving Those Who Serve. Each week, we'll discuss the latest news and info that Feds need to know in 15 minutes or less. So whether you are a grizzled, seasoned federal employee who has seen the coming and going of eras, or whether you are just starting out in your career and you are shiny and brand new, Fed15 has got you covered. So grab your coffee, kick back, and we will tell you what you need to know but might have missed in the federal space this week. These days, there's a lot of stuff going on, so we're here to help you round it up. We are your hosts. I am Katelyn Murray, and I'm joined by the man in black himself, not Johnny Cash, but rather our very own local Johnny Cash, Mr. Dan Sight.
Indeed. And you know, Katelyn, I do not like showing up in black. We were kind of rolling along, looking like things were going okay. And now in the last 24 hours, some scuttlebutt about maybe the Senate doesn't move forward after the House passed CR. Okay, I'll say it again. Shutdown helps no one. Okay, it doesn't even really help the Congress, because number one job, pass a budget. And I get it. That's challenging. So we've got CRs and things like that. Let's get a deal done. Okay. There's enough going on in federal service right now. There's enough going on in the executive branch. You want to reorg. I get it. Can't do it when you're shut down. So let's pass it. Let's get it done. Let's not have this happen. Get me out of black. Mm-hmm. That's where I am on it.
For sure. I agree. All right, folks. Well, we've got a very interesting episode touching base on some interesting topics this week. One is a little bit more bread and butter. Dan is going to discuss kind of maximizing your TSP and how to do that. We're going to talk a little bit about Roth TSP versus traditional TSP and give you some context around, those different options so that you can pick what is right for you. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about estate planning for digital wealth, kind of an interesting topic, kind of a newer concept. But as cryptocurrency and things like that are getting more popular, we want to make sure that folks know what they should be thinking about from an estate planning perspective there on how to safeguard those assets.
Indeed.
So Dan,
yes,
talk to us a little bit about our TSP.
See, here's the thing. And to this day, and Katelyn, I know you've experienced this as well. I still am gobsmacked when I meet feds and I bring up the topic of Roth TSP and they say something like, I can't do it. I make too much money. Mm-hmm. So we want to tackle some things here to take care of those misconceptions. Roth TSP is an excellent tool, and we're going to talk about the pros and cons, which you might want to consider. But here's the first thing to remember. Take this home, burn it into your brain. It doesn't matter how much money you make. Okay. You can do Roth TSP. You can do it. There is no income restriction. Okay. So top down. All TSP is funded by payroll deduction, and you can choose whether it goes into traditional or Roth TSP. Some of the similarities, the contribution limits are the same. You can't do, 23.5 is the amount this year for those under 50. You can't do 23.5 in each one. It's total. So contribution limit there, it's 31,000 for over 50 because of the catch up. In the investment options, it's going to be identical right across. So whatever you set up in traditional, that's what they're going to do in Roth. So how do they differ? Biggest thing, traditional, your contributions reduce your taxable income. Okay. Now, you want to be careful about misconceptions, like a misconception like, well, I heard they don't match Roth TSP contributions. They do, they just don't put them in the Roth side. Okay. So right now, all employer matches go in the traditional side. Back to traditional. When you take it out, it's taxed as ordinary income when you withdraw it. Back to traditional. There's something called an RMD, which means there's an age out there. For most people, it's going to be 73. It could be 75 when you have to take money out. Uncle's going to tell you have to and tell you how much you have to take out. What's it good for? You can argue that it's good for somebody who's in an high income tax bracket now, although we are still under the brackets for the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. They may very well be extended. So it's kind of hard for me to argue that people might be in lower tax brackets later, but it's possible. But if, for example, you need more take-home pay right now, you may want to do traditional. Now, relative to the Roth, whole lot to like here. Your funds grow tax-free. So they're going to grow. And then when you take it out. Now, remember, again, your employer match isn't going to go into Roth. It's going to go into traditional. That doesn't make it bad. Okay. Another thing, you won't have RMDs. So there won't be a date where Uncle says, hey, you got to take it out and you got to pay me. Okay. A couple of rules you have to remember. Need to be in it for at least 5 years after your first Roth contribution, at least 59.5 years old before you can take money out. From the estate planning side, this is a really big deal. If this goes to your heirs, tax-free. Okay. I love this for younger feds. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Because you're probably in the lowest tax bracket you're going to be for the rest of your life. Okay. So the tax bite is going to be pretty small. And you just need to get over the fact that you're not getting the tax break. It's not going to feel as bad as you think, but you can always do a combination of the two. You can split them between the two. So then you're diversified. You have a fully taxable and you have a tax-free that you can choose from. We call that tax diversification. Again, I am a huge, huge, huge fan of this. You want to choose the right strategy. If you are unsure, hit us up at ask.STWS@STWServe.com. We will help you any way we can, but don't sleep on that Roth IRA. So, Katelyn, we're talking crypto, and we're not talking Superman's dog, although I'm very excited that he is going to be in the new movie.
Okay. Oh, really?
Oh, absolutely. Wow. Yes.
Big times for Puppo.
Yes, absolutely.
That's cool.
So
I'm freaked out that they're making another Superman. Like, I feel like we just had one.
You can't have too many Supermans.
Over 15 years ago.
You just can't have too many. Can't. So tell us about digital.
I'm more of a Batman girly. I love a hero with a tragic backstory.
Now, see, you're not going to get anything from me there. Can't have too many Batmans or Batman.
Right? Batman, bad pack. Anyway, so let's talk cryptocurrency. So this is kind of a developing what we could see as a proto asset class. And people get very nervous when I say things like that because cryptocurrency at its current state is still considered by and large to be a speculative investment. However, folks who have listened to this podcast for a while, who are returning listeners, understand that Dan and I have a pretty forward-looking perspective, and we like to kind of, both of us being students of history, kind of consider our current context, when we're looking at things like this. And I think it is entirely possible that at some point in the future, this could become a new asset class. We're not there yet, but it could get there. And we are seeing more and more feds who are sort of experimenting with cryptocurrency. So what this is not is a discussion as to whether cryptocurrency is the correct investment for you.
Gotcha.
What this is meant to be, this piece on our blog this week, is if you do have cryptocurrency and it's something that you're kind of experimenting with, playing around with, investing in, how do you work that into your estate planning? Because cryptocurrency, needs to be considered in the context of your assets if it is something that you own.
Sure.
So when we're looking at estate planning, kind of from a general perspective, there's really 3 key documents that are foundational that we typically recommend that folks have in place, right? There's your will, your power of attorney, and you want to make sure it is a durable power of attorney, because otherwise it becomes void the moment you're incapacitated and it's sort of defunct, and your advanced healthcare directive. So your will, most people know what a will is. It's going to distribute your assets and name an executor that's going to be in charge of cutting up the pie, right? Your durable power of attorney is going to nominate somebody to handle financial matters and in some cases medical matters if you are incapacitated. And your advanced healthcare directive is going to lay out what your care should look like, what your end of life care should look like, what your preferences are in the event that you reach a point where you are incapacitated and cannot communicate those sorts of things. So those are kind of your foundational 3 pillars of estate planning. Now, beyond that, certain individuals, if they're interested in having more control over their assets and how they're distributed, if they're interested in some cases, tax minimization, if they're interested in avoiding probate, if they're interested in privacy, if they have a complicated family situation where some things could be, brought up, the will could be questioned, things like that, or big one, if they own property in another state, trusts could make sense for you.
Sure.
We always recommend that people speak with a qualified estate planning attorney. We are not attorneys here, but what we help with a lot of times on the financial planning side is the implementation of the estate planning documentation once it has been drawn up by a qualified attorney. So really great place to get some additional contextual information on estate planning, in particular, trustandwill.com. Really great articles on estate planning. I suggest that folks kind of check that out. It's a pretty interesting platform to learn. So that is kind of your general estate planning package, what you want to make sure that you've got covered.
Sure.
From there, including crypto kind of in that package, things that you need to be thinking about. Number one, you need to make a crypto inventory. You need to list your crypto wallets. You need to list your backup phrases and your passwords and your passcodes, because it is not intuitive. And often you might be somebody who's really into this, but your executor could be somebody who doesn't understand cryptocurrency from Adam, right? So make it easy for them. Have an inventory. List a beneficiary on those crypto accounts that allow it. Some do, some don't. If they don't allow it, make sure that's addressed in your will or your estate planning documentation. Write clear instructions, providing step-by-step access for heirs. Keep in mind, your heirs, your executor of your will, or executors or executrixes, they may not understand crypto the way that you do. So make sure that they've got a guide so that they know how to access these accounts. Or if you're working with a financial advisor with regard to those accounts, make sure that they have that contact information.
Sure.
And I definitely, if cryptocurrency is a large part of your portfolio or features in your portfolio, I would suggest working with an estate planning attorney who is familiar with digital assets and how those work. Now, couple state and federal legal frameworks that you need to be aware of. At the state level, the Revised Uniform Fiduciary Access to Digital Assets Act guides how digital assets are managed by fiduciaries. You also want to be aware that cryptocurrency, like any major asset, is going to count towards your estate's value, and that can affect tax liability for your heirs at the state level and at the federal level. So be aware that crypto factors in. Often, I think people think of it like an island. Best practices for digital asset security: use a password manager or a hardware wallet. I use Password Manager and it keeps my head screwed on straight. I absolutely love it. It is also much safer because it reminds me to update my passwords and it changes it to crazy stuff that I wouldn't ever think of. Enable multi-factor authentication, not just for your crypto, on everything. I know it's annoying. I know it's annoying to get the code and have to get your phone out and get the code and enter the code and yada, yada. It really does protect you much better. Please enable your multi-factor authentication. And then the last one is backup wallet credentials. You want to make sure that you are storing this information securely, that your beneficiaries and your potential executor has access to that information. So, because if they can't see it, they don't know that it's out there. And then 10 years passes by and all of a sudden there's an account that was never dealt with by your estate, and that can create some issues as well. So overall, you want to make sure that you understand legal requirements and proper digital asset planning going into estate planning. You want to make sure that you're factoring in your crypto. It is not an island. It needs to be factored into your overall financial planning and estate planning strategy. And above all, you want to make sure that your family can access it when needed. So couple things to think about there, hoping to kind of jog your attention, folks who have cryptocurrency worked into their portfolios there.
Absolutely. Great tips. Well, folks, that is all the time we have for today, but we will be back 100% next week to bring you the latest updates you need to make informed decisions about your career and financial well-being as a Fed.
And our analytics, we're watching them, show us that 78% of folks who are watching our videos are not actually subscribed. So please subscribe to our podcast on our YouTube channel so that you never miss an episode. If you're listening with us on Spotify, go ahead and subscribe there as well. And please remember to share it with your friends and colleagues.
Now more than ever, couldn't be more important. And for more information about these topics and way more, check out our blog, or better yet, just at blog.stwserve.com, or better yet, subscribe to our newsletter, The Weekly Serving, and you'll get all the latest news delivered straight to your inbox every single week. Don't have to go look.
Absolutely. My favorite hack, Dan. I say every Fed should set their desktop browser, their homepage, to STWserve.com. That way you never miss anything.
Absolutely.
And for those who want to dive even deeper into learning about your federal benefits and financial planning for Feds, we encourage you to join us for one of our complimentary webinars. We've got some great sessions coming up here on April 2nd. I will be hosting a session on early retirement. We're talking VERA, we're talking VSIPs, we're talking discontinued service retirement. We are talking about all of that. It's going to be from 2:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. on April 2nd. Make sure you check it out. You can register to join at stwserve.com. It is free. It is complimentary.
And our first one was a huge success, Katelyn. Huge. So we got another one coming. We'll keep them coming. Check them out, folks.
For sure. We want to make sure you guys have all the information you need to make important decisions. We've also got a tax planning webinar coming up on April 9th. So when we were talking Roth versus traditional TSP, if some of those details you missed, we will dive deeper there. I'm hosting that one as well from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Come see me in a webinar. I would love to hang out with you guys. If you are listening and you are interested in a financial planning relationship, we can also help you out there. There's no pressure. If you want to set up a one-on-one financial planning consultation with the team here at Serving Those Who Serve, you can email us at meetings@stwserve.com, and we'd be happy to help you out in that way as well.
Absolutely, man. Katelyn, you pop everywhere. You're like Bobby Flay on the Food Channel. Everywhere.
Just serving it up.
All righty, folks, that's it. Thank you for listening to Fed15. I'm Dan Sipe.
And I'm Katelyn Murray.
And we will see you next week. Guaranteed we'll be here.
See you there.